Here's the question. Do you look like a one-man show? In this presentation, we're going to discuss how we think about our business and how we can prepare our minds for growth. It's about how we can scale when we combine our value. As a bonus, I'm going to give you 7 tips that you can implement to help you scale. Let's get into it. So first, let me use the example of the cul-de-sac. So one day my husband come home, he says, we live in a multi-million dollar cul-de-sac. And I thought, wow, that is pretty impressive. And he made a note, if we combined all of our value in this little cul-de-sac, that we can achieve a value of over $1 million. Now, I thought that was cool. Now, I started thinking about what does that mean for us in business? What would happen if we combined our value, combined our strength, our skills, and all of this, it would help us to scale to look even bigger than us just being alone. I mean, there are so many different examples. We have people that we can partner with to help us with automation in our marketing. We can have people to help us go to different events. So maybe they're going to different networking events that we can now go to because we know them. There's also the discussion of AI. There are so many ways to use AI in different perspective, different tools, and people can come into your life and help you with your business and help you to leverage AI better. There's even times where I've helped people to connect, businesses to connect to one another because I knew both of them. And I thought, man, this would be a great fit. So think about what would happen if you were to leverage your business to help others. And at the same time, others are leveraging their business to help you. They're leveraging their network, their skills, leveraging their connections to help you actually scale what you can offer. So here's my first tip. Leverage your network. There are so many times we don't actually use our network because we thought, oh, we're just connecting with people for us to know, but actually use them, get to know them, have one-on-one meetings with them, sit down, get to know their offering and their services. Because as you're sharing your services with your clients and prospect clients, and then maybe you have someone in mind that could benefit from them, it makes you appear larger than just you by yourself. And the same thing when people get to know you about your services, they can bring that into conversations to leverage them. And sometimes it's not about us just growing in numbers, but it's how we can connect with others to help them grow. And as they grow and expand, there could be opportunities to come from referrals just because they know us. Now, here's an example of partnerships. People actually working together, businesses working together to actually scale. So I have 2 examples. One of them is Disney and Pixar. So we have Disney, they're really good with storytelling, and we have Pixar, they're really good with animation. Together, they combine their skills, and as of today, they have 31 films that they've produced, and they've all been amazing. You think about movies like Toy Story, Cars, The Incredibles. Collectively, they grossed over $15 billion globally, just putting all of their movies together, their films, $15 billion globally. With their strategic partnership, they have been able to bring a lot of value to their customers, their viewers. People are sitting down and watching the movies. Let's look at this second example, Amazon and Whole Foods. Amazon has the scale and Whole Foods has the retail stores. With this partnership, Amazon's revenue directly improved immediately by adding billions of dollars to its top line. That's generating tens of billions of dollars in joint sale by 2025. In the first year of their partnership, there was a 59% increase in reported sales, which was about $2 billion in groceries at the time of their combined corporations. That was back in 2017, which was 59% higher than in 2016. So let's see, how can we, maybe we don't have $1 billion company yet, but how can we as local business owners combine our value to scale our business? So I'm going to use an example of Fire Ministry. So Fire Ministry is a nonprofit that helps low to mid income families to achieve greater wealth. So I partnered with them as their marketing expert and decided, okay, I see what we can do and how we can partner. And so the founder of this nonprofit, he had a lot going on. He loved connecting and he needed someone to come in and just handle the marketing. So as their partner, my business, we focused on executing the programs, the promotions, the content, providing insight into data and potential opportunities. So let's look at some examples. So what we're looking at, we have some banners that we help them create, flyers that we've helped them create, and we also have a word search that we helped them to create. They were the company, the nonprofit was going out into community events, and there were little ones that were going to be there. So although the parents were the audience, there was something that we should have been able to provide to the little ones. And so, what better way to do it than a word search? It's easier, it's easy, it's quick to do, and it's something that they can use, especially if you're using words that are found within your mission statement. It was great, and the little ones loved it a lot. So here's a tip that I will share with you if you're attending community events, is to create word searches. They're really easy to do, easy to put together, and the little ones love it. It's something that they can take home, and it allows you the opportunity to connect with your audience, the parents, if that's your audience, to connect with the parents, the adults, to talk to them. But there's something also the little ones can take away. You also have maybe candy if you're attending community events to give out. It attracts the little ones over. You can engage in some small conversations with them as they're getting their word search, and then explain to the parents, the adults, what your business has to offer, your nonprofit has to offer. So that's a good way to connect with your target audience. So we did a lot of deliverables with them, about 60 deliverables for the nonprofit fire ministry. And they ranged in a couple of different areas. One was a physical asset. So we're actually creating material for them that can be printed, helping them with their digital presence, like social media, sending out email newsletter, anything to get them out digitally. System integration. So working with them to make sure their systems and their databases are clean and ready to go. And then also the narrative and content. So providing different scripts, different ways of presenting information, the way that we worded the content. So let's look at physical assets. There's a couple things that we did for them. So we have the flyers, we have banners, things that can be passed out. Now these were all to help materialize the mission. So as anyone's going out for the nonprofit talking about it, they had materials that they can share. So we have a back to school bash flyer that we were able to create for them. We have a banner that they were able to take to some events to help promote and share the news of what they were offering. We also have promotional flyers, different business highlights, different parts of the businesses. And then we also have postcards. So 4x6 postcards that we made that they can easily share if they were out talking about the different events that they were going to be attending. It was a good way for us to put information on one card that can be passed out to different people. On the back of the card, we had information related to the actual nonprofit, their mission statement, their purpose, their goals. And then on the front side, we had information related to the actual event that they were going to be attending. So it was a way to, as they're out just talking, hey, here's a quick flyer. We're going to be at an event. Feel free to stop by and learn more about our operation. Now let's look at digital presence. So one great reason that everyone as a business owner should have a database management system is because it helps to keep you organized. So instead of having papers all over your desk, all over the counters, centralize it into a database. The database that we use was Charity Engine. So this is a screenshot from their page, so not the actual nonprofit that we work with, but it's just a great way for you to understand when you have a database and it's centralized, you can see different data points. You can see who's donating, who hasn't donated in a while, who you're keeping in contact with, who's really engaging with the materials that you're sending out digitally. So it's a great way to keep in contact not only with those who are in your database, but also to help you stay organized. That is very, very big. So here's a tip. Use some type of customer relationship management system to help you manage your contacts. You keep in touch with them. You can share newsletters with them, send them emails, and then you can also see what you have sent to them, and then the things that they've engaged with. It's also a really good way for you to segment your audience. So maybe you have a certain type of audience that's really good for one of your offerings, and then another type of audience that's really good for a separate offering. And it's a good way to segment your data. But the best way to do that is to have them in a centralized database where you can see the information, you can segment them out, or if you're sending out general information, that's perfectly fine as well. as long as you know who you're sending it to. So let's look at what one of the things that we created to help them send out things digitally. It's a newsletter. And one of the great things about using Charity Engine, the platform that was used, is that it was easy to configure to different mobile devices. So whether that was a tablet or a phone, have the newsletter where they can see it on those devices. But we first, again, had to start with making sure the customer relationship database, the database that we was using, was clean, ready to go. So we help them organize not only the contacts, but then help them create the newsletter that can be actually sent out. Another thing that we did was create social media content for them. So we have a couple pictures here from the nonprofit, and we help create some of the content that will go along with those pictures. So again, as a marketer, I had the pictures and it was like, this is the event that we attended. What can we do? And there's a couple of different angles that we can talk about it. So I had the pictures and I came up with the content. And the idea was to focus on, this is the event that we attended and this is why we attended. Or another photo could have been, this is the event that we attended and this is what we've learned from it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be naming all the people in the pictures. It could be, this is the event and this is our takeaway, or this is the event and this was the purpose for us attending. This is the event that we attended and these will be our next step. So that's something that you can take away as well. If you're doing social media, like, well, what kind of content can I put with these photos? Think about it that way. The event that you attended and the purpose that you attended, or the event that you attended and your takeaways from the event. So here is my tip number 4: hire photographers or ask someone to take photos of you at the event. There's a lot of time business owners attend a lot of events and they don't have anything to show for it. So if you have the budget, hire a photographer, come take pictures of you at the event, talking with prospects, talking with clients. That way you can post them on social or use them in other places. And if you don't have the budget to actually hire a photographer, ask a friend and just make a note in your calendar to ask someone to take a picture for you. It could be, even if you're a vendor, ask the vendor next to you, hey, can you take a photo of me real quick with my booth? Or maybe you have some good conversations with people and you see them again in the show. Just say, hey, we had a conversation. Can you just quickly take a picture of me? You want to capture those moments so you can use them in other places. All right, continuing on, system integrations. The big reasons of using some type of CRM database. So one of the things that you can do is create web forms. So if you have a database where you're using a customer relationship system and it has opportunities to create web forms, use them. It is a great way to put out a web form, capture the information, and it goes directly into your database. Sometimes CRM systems, you have to piecemeal them together. Maybe you use a form from another tool and then download that information and upload into our CRM system. The cool news is that if you actually have a CRM system that already has a web form embedded, that would be your better option. So much easier, the data is cleaner, it comes right in, less touching, right? So who wants to actually download information just to upload it when you could have just actually used a system that had the option to create web forms? Those web forms could be used for registrations, it could be for staying in contact, getting their information. It could actually be used for donations. So there are some forms out there that can link up with a payment tool where you can actually capture the information. And then once they've donated, they are now entered into your CRM system as a contact. Another thing, we talked about this a little bit, was segmentation. Once you have your contacts in your database, it's easy for you to segment them out. You can talk about, okay, maybe the different types of offering, but you can also localize it. So maybe there are certain geographical areas you're going to be in. And he's like, hey, there'd be a great way for me to say, I'm going to contact these couple of zip codes or maybe cities in this vicinity area. Let them know I'm going to be in there. Would love to meet with them. We're going to be hosting an event and come by, and you can localize it to that particular audience if you have their zip codes or their information, location information. Or if you're segmenting out like who's donated before to your event or who's purchased last, segment that information out to contact them again. Once you have your contacts in your database, an awesome idea is to stay in communication with them. Like newsletters, emails, or maybe even specific offerings, sharing information about the offerings that you have, your business services, your promotions, to certain contacts within the database. Once you have their information, create a formal standard operating procedures document so that the next person who comes along in your place can actually use it and continue to help the business, the organization grow. There are a lot of times where it's the one person knows how to do it and no one else knows how to do it. And you can actually become bogged down by doing these things where you can be growing in other areas, or there could be opportunities to help the business grow, but you're stuck doing these specific tasks. So make sure you're creating a standard operating procedure document. That way it can be passed along. Now I want to talk about a project that we worked on where we're attending an event and there are two target audience um, groups that are attending this event. Now, we could have just put all the information on one flyer, done one campaign, but we decided, hey, let's do a dual campaign where we have one focused on one group and the other campaign focused on another group. So we had one campaign focused on consumers, promoting towards them, and we had another campaign focused on the supporters. Now, it was the same event, but it was helping us to understand who we're actually targeting and what would attract those specific audience groups. So here's my tip number 5. Separate your audience. Too much information or information not related to those audience can actually cause them to not engage because they say, well, this isn't for me, right? If you think about it from the supporter and consumer aspect, you have people who are ready to support, but they're getting information from the consumer aspect. Now, this is what I'm talking about is related to the nonprofit. So we don't want to send out, hey, we would love for your support, or this is what we're doing. These are some great things that we're doing. This is the outcome expected, and we're looking for some partners to come along with us. If we sent that to the actual people who are going to be consumer the offerings and the service, it would not have made sense to them. And they probably was like, I don't know if this is the right business that I should be partnered with as a consumer of those goods and services. So separate your audience. It makes it easier for everyone to understand what your offering is and it's specific to them. So this is what we came up with. So we had one side back to school bash related to the nonprofit. That was for those who's going to be consuming the services. And the other one was focused on those who was going to be partnering to help us fulfill those services. Yes, they're separate looks, separate feels. And then actually in the one where we're looking for partners and sharing information with those who are going to actually be supporters of what we're doing, we had a way for them to either volunteer to help us physically or to donate financially. Now let's look at what happens when someone says, yes, I do want to help, or I would like to financially partner with this mission. And we made it really easy for them to actually help. So one is a QR code to those who want to actually donate their time. The other one is to those who want to donate resources or donate financially. Chose QR codes because it just makes it easier for everyone. You have the QR code in your hand, you scan it and complete the information. So let's take a look at what happens when they scan. So with the system that we use, once they scanned it, it went to a form that they can complete. And this form here allowed them to donate. So this one is the financial one. They can donate money financially. There's different ways and different functions that we can use within the system, such as instead of highlighting the lowest amount first, we can say, well, maybe people will be more interested in 50. To make it easy for them, let's go ahead and highlight the 50. However, they can donate a lower amount like $25, or they can put in another amount. And all of these are different functions within this web form that is connected to the CRM system. They have their information there, and then there's a way for them to get on the email list by checking a box, and then their payment information for the amount that they want to donate. After that, they received a success page saying, hey, everything went through successful. And then we also had a trigger where they received an email notification of their donation. So this all went through, everything is set up so that as soon as they click on the QR code, everything runs through. It goes into the CRM system, so we don't have to download information from one database, from another tool and then upload it into our CRM system. Everything worked together, just all automated. If you look at the other one, it's a little bit different. So these are people who want to volunteer and actually help us with their hands, right? So we have a form we created where we have information about volunteering. And you see that there's no payment information to donate, and there's no payment uh, area to take their credit card. But we do have information related to their contact information and how we can stay in contact with them. We also include them in the newsletter communications that was in the checkbox. After this, they went to the success page, and after that, they received an email confirming they're in the database. So here's the tip, and it's actually related to what happens to the contacts who come into the database. So they could be coming in because they're helping, they're actually volunteering their time, or they're giving money, or maybe even they're registering, say, hey, I would like to stay in contact with this nonprofit or with this organization. Here's an idea, is to build an educational email series. So every person who comes into your database, regardless of how they got there, they can have an educational email series about your offerings, your products, your overview, your mission, your purpose, and just do 3 to 5 emails over a few weeks just to get them introduced to the business, to the organization. Now let's look at narrative and content. One of the things that we did was create a script that can be used for videos. And again, there's a lot of different ways that you can create scripts, but the way that we chose it was to have a hook, a foundation, bridge it, and then talk about the investment. There are several different audience types for this particular organization, or actually many organizations. So the goal is to make it general enough so that everyone is aware of the offerings, the products, the services the organization has to offer. So whether they are consumers or whether they're supporters, it's easy for them to say, okay, I know exactly what this organization does and how it can help me. And the reason why we chose this quick way of doing it is because we wanted to have a high level overview for anyone who comes across the organization. It's a good way to say, this is what we do and this is why we are here. So here is my next tip, and this is my final tip, is to plan your action. Now, again, there's a lot of different ways to go about marketing. There's a lot of different ways to create content. The best way you can do it is to start with planning it. So instead of just going right into creating, going right into drafting, is to think about, okay, what is our goal? What are we trying to accomplish? What do we want them to feel? Once you plan it out, then you do it. It's much easier to just start with a really good base, a really good foundation of what you're going to build on versus just building right into it and we don't know the goal of why we're building it. So here it is, as I asked before, do you operate like a one-man show? So I hope that as we went through this presentation, you thought about different ways that partnerships can be leveraged to help you maximize your potential. So even though you may be small, maybe a small organization, you do not need to operate as a small organization. The right partnerships can equip you with systems to reach and achieve your goals, and that's it. Our goal here at Go Down Marketing is to focus on your marketing so you can focus on your mission. It's all about the collective value of strategic partnerships, combining strength, saving time to help you scale your mission. So here's my final statement. True partnerships don't just add resources, they multiply impact. So I hope you enjoyed this quick educational series, and we'll see you in the next video.